He thought he was just honoring a forgotten soldier until the US Pentagon called him by name. What they revealed would change not only his life, but the history books forever. Watch till the end to uncover a secret buried for decades. And don't forget to subscribe for more powerful, real-life inspired stories. Leave a comment if this one touched your soul. Nobody noticed when Jeremy Blake knelt by the weather-worn grave, not even the groundskeeper who passed by every morning at 7:13 a.m. The headstone was barely readable anymore, half swallowed by moss and neglect, surrounded by fallen leaves and the silence of time. Lieutenant Marshal T. Keene, 1944, the inscription declared, but there was no flag, no family, no trace of remembrance. Jeremy didn't know who Marshall was. He just felt drawn to the grave, like something was calling him. A strange pull. Every time he passed by the west side of Haven Ridge Cemetery on his morning runs. On the third week of passing it, he brought flowers. Simple ones, white lilies from the grocery store, the kind his late mother used to place on his grandfather's grave. He knelt, whispered a prayer he barely believed in, and left them there. He didn't know that this small act would trigger something buried not just in the earth, but deep inside a vault in the Pentagon, sealed for over 80 years. On the third night, Jeremy's phone rang at 2:06 a.m. A female voice introduced herself as Commander Susan Lorne, Department of Defense Liaison, and requested an immediate meeting. Jeremy, a 33-year-old history teacher from Connecticut with no military record, had no idea why the Pentagon wanted him. He drove down to D.C. after 2 more calls and a black SUV parked outside his apartment all night. When he arrived at the secured facility, he expected a mistake. Maybe someone with the same name, maybe a prank. But when they pulled out the faded file and laid it before him, Jeremy stared down at a photo that chilled his spine. Because the man in the black and white picture, wearing a WW2 uniform, looked exactly like him. Not similar, identical. "Who is this?" he asked. Commander Lorne exhaled slowly. "That's Lieutenant Marshal Thomas Keene. He was declared missing in action 1944, Belgium. Never found. But here's the strange part, Mr. Blake. There was a note in his personal file, dated March 3rd, 1944. It said, 'I may not return, but I believe I will be remembered. Perhaps by someone who looks just like me.'" Jeremy laughed nervously. "This has to be fake." But then they brought out something else, his DNA file. Somehow, his genetic code matched that of Marshal Keene. "This doesn't make sense," Jeremy muttered. "I'm not related to anyone named Keene. I checked my ancestry years ago." "It's not ancestry we're talking about," Lorne said quietly. "It's temporal lineage. We believe Marshal Keene may have been part of an experimental unit called Project Recur, a top-secret W2 mission involving early quantum theories, even time manipulation." Jeremy sat frozen as she continued. "He was a test subject, reportedly exposed to electromagnetic pulses designed to distort time perception. All subjects either died or vanished. But Keene left a final message. 'One day, I'll return one way or another.'" They slid a final item across the table, a brass locket. Jeremy opened it slowly. Inside was a photograph of a woman, his grandmother. No mistake, same mole, same eyes. He staggered backward. "How?" he whispered. "We think your grandmother might have met Keene in the 1940s, possibly under classified conditions, possibly not in her own timeline." Jeremy's hands trembled. "So what does this mean?" "It means we need your help," Lorne said. "Keene's grave wasn't supposed to exist. Someone buried him in secret. We believe he completed a mission that was never recorded. We think you may be the key to uncovering it." Jeremy was no soldier, but when they flew him to Belgium, everything changed. Deep in the Ardennes forest, guided by old military logs, Jeremy stepped into a cavern that wasn't marked on any modern map. Inside was a sealed door, old as the war itself, but with fresh scratches, as if someone had entered recently. With a military escort, he opened the vault and found a journal wrapped in oilskin. Keen's journal. Day 47. I completed the mission, but I can't go back, not yet. They'll bury me here, but maybe, just maybe, he'll come. The rest of the entries told a story of sabotage missions, espionage, and one detail that stunned even the Pentagon analysts. Keen claimed to have stopped a German prototype bomb designed to alter magnetic fields. On a global scale, technology too advanced for its time. The mission was so secret, it was wiped from history, but Keen knew he couldn't survive. He requested to be buried in anonymity to protect the timeline, and he left one last note. My blood knows. My future self will find me. Jeremy was in tears by the final page. He had no training, no clearance, yet he was now standing at the center of one of the greatest unknown war stories in U.S. history. The Pentagon confirmed the details and declared Keen a war hero, posthumously. The grave was restored with full honors, and a state funeral was arranged. Jeremy stood at the head of the ceremony, the folded flag in his hand, the crowd silent. Veterans saluted, bagpipes played, but only Jeremy could feel the presence beside him. A whisper in the wind, a quiet thank you from a man who shared his face. A man who gave up everything to protect a future that hadn't yet happened. After the funeral, Jeremy's life changed. The Pentagon offered him a role as a historical consultant. But more than that, he began traveling across Europe, quietly locating other unmarked heroes whose stories were erased for the sake of secrecy. In every grave, he saw Keen. In every forgotten name, a chance to honor the unseen sacrifice. People asked why he did it. He only ever answered, because someone left me a message from 1944. And I heard it. What began as a random act of kindness, a simple bouquet on a forgotten grave, became the thread that unraveled a hidden legacy. Jeremy never found out exactly how Keen's DNA became part of his own. But maybe some questions aren't meant to be answered. Maybe some stories only live on when someone cares enough to remember. And Jeremy Blake became that someone, not just for Keen, but for all of them. And somewhere, in the quiet hush of the wind, he believed the soldiers were still whispering, "Thank you." If this story touched your heart, don't forget to subscribe for more powerful, real-life-inspired tales. And we'd love to hear from you. Leave a comment and tell us, what would you do if the past suddenly called your name?